ziet er niet best uit.
Het is lekker stoffig, hè, allemaal?
Nou. Die is leuk, alleen ja, je zou hier echt een paar dagen moeten rondkijken om te kijken wat het nou precies is, hoe die boeken hier komen. En als ik dit zou hebben thuis, zou ik, ja, daar zou ik best blij mee zijn, maar eigenlijk is het een beetje gek natuurlijk. Dit is de hele Columbus collectie, dus pakweg 1, 2, 3, 4, 4, 10 meter. Nou, dat is voor een land waar Columbus zo roem begonnen is, natuurlijk eigenlijk heel weinig. En dat zegt natuurlijk ook wat over de armoe van een land als dit. Want als je de grote andere Columbus collectie op de wereld ziet, ja, die lachen zich rot als ze dit zien. Ik sta naar Washington te kijken, deze geloof, want ik ben in Washington, ik ben in de Library of Congress. En hier gaan we kijken naar wat er over is aan de kaartgeschiedenis van de ontdekking van Columbus van Amerika. John en Barbara, die wachten daar op mij en daar gaan we dus heen. Hello.
Hi.
Welcome to the Library of Congress.
Yes. And I understand you want to show me some maps and globes. But first, before Columbus. Were there maps before Columbus?
Absolutely.
Yes?
Yes, yes.
Show me one, please.
One? Okay. We'll
But
show you what the world looked like before Columbus.
Yeah.
I will it here? Yes, I will. Nou doen. Dan gaat hij een hele oude kaart halen. Tenminste, het is hier zo ongelooflijk kostbaar en zeldzaam allemaal. Oh, hier is...
Yeah, why don't we set it up? There's a whole series of reproductions of materials by Ptolemy, Claudio Ptolemy, during the 15th century. And if everyone wants to get a look at what the world looked like, according to the Europeans,
Yeah.
prior to the arrival of Columbus to America, here is a map of the world. And as you can see, Spain, Mediterranean world, nothing much west of Spain.
Yeah.
And here's the Asian coast. Of course, Africa swings around, and the Indian Ocean is an enclosed sea. They've left us out completely of this picture. I don't see New York City.
And which year is this map?
This is 1482 edition of Ptolemy's.
That's 10 years before discovery.
10 years
of the
before
United
Columbus,
States.
right?
Yeah, of the United States,
Of America.
Yeah, America.
Of the contact.
Yeah, of the
Yes.
contact.
Not discovery.
Not discovery.
We
okay.
talk of,
Not discovery.
exploration.
Encounter.
Encounter.
Contact.
Yeah.
Not discovery.
Contact, yeah. And can you show me also the first map of America, where can you see the names Jamaica or Puerto Rico or?
I can show you a map that will show you Barbados,
Yeah.
and Greenland, and Newfoundland, and what is Cuba.
Show me
And
the
it's
map,
about
please.
1508.
1508. That is 16 years after the
Arrival.
Arrival.
The first landfall.
First
landfall
landfall of Columbus. This again is Ptolemy, the 1507 edition of Ptolemy that was produced in Rome. The map itself is by Reusch, and it's dated 1508. As you can see, the world appears here with Africa, Europe, Asia, and Asia extended here. This is America, and we would call it South America now. This is Cuba, Hispaniola. All right, the interesting thing is here, this is Asia again.
And Groenland?
Yeah,
Greenland?
Greenland,
Greenland?
Barbados, and Newfoundland,
Newfoundland
are right here on the Asian mainland. It's interesting that 16 years after Columbus's initial voyage, Europe is still wondering where to place this America, this new world. And
Ptolemaios got his information for this map from Columbus.
Well, from Columbus and from the other navigators and explorers who traveled across the seas to the New World, to America.
And not for me, but mostly for the viewers. Is this a rare map?
This is a rare map, yes. I don't know how many exist in the world today, but it's obviously less than 50.
Less than 50.
Of this particular printing. And it's a printed map, as you can see. But
and the colors are also printed? Or
these are original colors. These are
original
colors that would have appeared in 1508. As you know, with atlases of that period of time, the person who owned the sheets of the atlas would have people hand color the material for them. There wasn't a one-color printing of 100 copies or 1,000 copies. It would all be done exclusively. This is Caspar Vopel's globe. It's a manuscript globe inside an armillary sphere. It's, I think, reflective of what the whole quincentenary is about, what Columbus's activities are related to, in that with that particular voyage, the world became one. Prior to 1492, as we showed with our maps, we're dealing with two separate worlds, parallel. America and Europe, Asia, and Africa as two separate entities. This brings it all together in globe form. Not that this is the first. This is 1543. It's 50 years after Columbus, roughly. But the point I'm making is that it represents the beginning of a true understanding of the world.
And this is a unique copy?
Well, it's manuscript globe.
It's only one?
Yeah. Before you shake from
I'm crazy about it. I want to have that.
Okay, fine. How about a reproduction of it instead?
And you were talking about the Gutierrez maps?
We have a map of the New World, the 1562 map of the New World. They chose America
1562.
as Europe finally got to know it.
Ah,
It's right over here.
In fact, this map is the first one to show that wonderful place in the far western part of the United States called California.
As an island?
Well, the French
it's
haven't
hanging
messed it
off
up
the map
yet.
here.
Oh, it's
Really
not
not
the
on the
map.
map.
The French are the
Yeah.
ones who made it an island, and it remained that way for about 100 years, but here's California.
But they have South America beautifully described.
Oh, yeah.
And the Amazon River,
It is interesting how accurate this record
the Caribbean
is.
is, yeah. And how important it is.
These are the Bahamas here.
Correct.
Okay.
But the islands are far too large.
They're too large.
Too
But
large.
they do show a number of the smaller islands surrounding them.
Yeah.
But
And
you're
here
right.
we have the island of San Salvador, Guanima. That's the island of San Salvador.
Yeah, Guanahani,
Perhaps,
yeah.
perhaps Columbus landed there.
Well, he did land at Guanahani. He did land at San Salvador. The problem is which one is
island
the
is
one.
now, yeah.
Right.
But so, I'm addicted to maps. Can you show me one map more?
I'd love to show you a great map.
Yeah.
A
And which?
Portolan chart, a chart of the Mediterranean world, mid-1600s, which reflects the way in which Europe created maps at that same period of time. It would be a throwback.
And where's that
Let's go
map?
see it.
I'll Google it.
Now, we will need some help in getting into this, I'm afraid. It's a huge map. Maybe you could help me ease it out with just your hand, and we could put this up on the table.
No, not here. This earth.
Shall we turn it to...
Zo, ja. Kan je zien het, Thomas?
Well, this would be the way in which today people read maps. We have the north at the south, and west and east and south. This is a portolan prepared for navigators to travel in ocean's waters.
Yeah.
The interesting thing here is that it contains a great deal of cultural history as you look at it. The city-states are the important areas of Europe. The oddities.
Where's Holland? That's a good question.
Yeah, that's a good
Holland
point.
would be up in
I
there
think
somewhere.
It's here.
we're getting close.
Hier is de
Somewhere
IJsselmeer.
above Italy.
Here's Holland. No. For sure that's Holland.
Look for the windmills and we'll
Right,
have
yeah.
it.
Een paar zeldzame Columbus dingen zijn in de restauratieafdeling van de Library of Congress. Maar die mogen we toch zien. You're making them more beautiful.
Well, the condition they were in before was such that they were unusable. And now we've put them into a condition where they're very usable.
And they are ready now?
They're ready to go, ready to look at.
Yes? Can you show us the book?
Sure. It's in two parts. What you have initially is the text of a lawsuit involving Columbus.
Cortez.
I'm sorry, Cortez, yes.
John, correct him.
That's
If
right.
he is wrong,
I look bad, right? No, well, Columbus is on my mind, but this is Cortez.
this is Cortez.
This is the text of a lawsuit concerning he and the other members of the Audiencia in Mexico in 1531.
And what have you done now?
Well, let me show you. In the
Yeah.
beginning, you can see more easily. This.
You filled the paper in.
That's correct. And also put it into a new binding. This is not, of course, the original binding. It wasn't bound originally at all. It was simply sewn together in groups, though, as though we may staple something together or use paper clips. In a court, they would put these all together in a file, and what they did is they just sewed everything together in a big clump. It was unusable. Now, this is the text, but what's even more significant are these images here. Which are Nahuatl pictographs on a mate or maguey paper. These were submitted as testimony on the part of the Indians on behalf of Cortez.
What is the meaning of this book for Columbus?
The meaning for the book for Columbus is that this begins to show the contact that existed between Europe and America in that initial 40 or 50 years after Columbus's travels. It was caused, it was created by that initial landfall, that initial exploration of Columbus. Now Europe is in contact with native society, with Native America. And in the process, we believe these type of documents show a very colorful and exciting society that did exist prior to the arrival of the Europeans. Now this one, of course, reflects a Christian influence, obviously. But Tom, I'm sorry.
This is considered to be one of the earliest Christian images in the New World.
And the year is 1520?
1531.
1531.
This is a design for a banner, although we're not entirely sure of the absolute meaning of all the pictographs. Scholars who have looked at it have made that point, that this is a design for a banner representing the Virgin and Jesus, and this indicates some of the components of the banner, the things that went in to make it up.
Including feathers.
And feathers, gold.
Which is represented here. These were the feather banners that...
This is the famous book of
privileges.
privilege.
Columbus's privileges.
And the handwriting is from Columbus?
No, it's a
Or
scribe,
copyist.
a scribe, a copyist in Sevilla. But here's the reference to Columbus here, Cristobal Colon, on the front page.
But he made a few of them.
This was prepared in 1502 in Sevilla before Columbus left on his fourth and final voyage. 3 copies were made in vellum and 1 in paper. And the 3 vellum copies are located here in Genoa and Paris.
Yeah.
Now, in addition to the vellum, we also have a paper copy of one of the papal bulls of 1493 here, that for many years, this was the only found copy. They finally uncovered it in Rome, but that's the one paper piece in here. The rest of it is in vellum.
Is this the biggest Columbus treasure in the library?
Considering its closeness to Columbus, physically, yes, this is.
What is your personal opinion on Columbus as a man? I think, personally, he's only chasing gold and making more Catholics.
Well, there's nothing wrong with that, is there? But
making more Catholics and tasting for gold?
no, I think Columbus's ambition is also one of seeking personal glory. And I think, to his credit, you have to consider him a fairly courageous person and a hard-headed person who succeeded in what he wanted. In spite of many attempts that were not fulfilled in getting permission or support to go overseas, he was persistent. I think he's a courageous person. I think there's an element of truth on gold or on souls for Christianity at that time. It wasn't Catholic, as you know, the breakup took place after, but I think you have to look at him as a whole person, and that's one thing we would like to do here at the Library of Congress in our own program. I think there's also the other side of the coin that one has to see. What was the influence of Native America on European values, on its respect for land, for space?
The influence of Native Americans on Europe? There was no influence.
You don't think so?
No.
There are people who
We don't have Maya things, or Inca things, or Indian things in Europe. Influences.
Well, let's think of some possibilities of influence.
Yeah.
Have you ever eaten French fried potatoes?
Yeah.
Have you ever had cornflakes?
Yeah.
Have you ever had corn chips?
Yeah.
Have you ever drunk bourbon whiskey?
Viral diseases.
How about chocolate, which we call hot chocolate?
Yeah.
Well, is that not an influence if it wasn't for the
but that's
potato
not
that...
a big cultural influence.
French fried potatoes are not a great influence? What would be Italian spaghetti without tomato sauce?
Nothing.
Well,
You're right.
well, sorry.
Your image of Columbus is not only negative.
I think it has to be balanced.
Balance.
He's a person. Let's try to make him a person, not this god, this icon that we all have treated. In the United States, the image of Columbus is of a god, of a saint,
But he was.
and not a real person. I don't think he was a saint.
About the image of Columbus, there's a book and it tells us a little bit more about Columbus.
Well, that's our hope.
It's mostly unknown to Columbus
Scholars?
scholars.
Absolutely.
Yeah?
This is Trevisan's manuscript. He was a Venetian.
It is also a unique copy, of course.
Absolutely. It's a manuscript book. 1503.
1503.
And in it, all our little notes and quandaries on this, in it is a very early description of Christopher Columbus during his lifetime. This would be in 1502, as you can see.
Cristoforo Colombo.
We even say that he has reddish hair,
No.
reddish complexion.
And the warrants? You have stopped, I hope.
Oh, yeah. I think we have arrested him now.
Yeah.
This account, this manuscript account is very important. It provides us a record of the first 3 voyages that Columbus made to America. It includes also the voyage of Cabral, the Portuguese, to the coast of Brazil on his way to Calicut, to India. And this is produced in 1503, within a very short time after
Columbus
the
had
completion.
life.
Exactly.
Was alive.
He's still alive.
Yeah.
He's on his 4th voyage at the time this is written. The history behind this is that the individual who wrote it, Angelo Trevisan, is a Venetian who is working in Sevilla as an agent for the government, for the city-state of Venice. And he has received a message from his patron that says, what's going on? What is going on with the Spanish and Portuguese in the Western Atlantic, and how will it affect our trade with the Middle East?
A sort of a spy.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Intelligence. Right?
You call that CIA.
Yeah, right.
Here, Christopher Columbo.
For me, the important thing is we know he did reach America, and because of his voyage, because of his contact, Europe and America become connected, linked, and because of his contact, immigration begins to America, and a whole new society exists in this hemisphere. That's the important thing. And we're still going through that 500-year experiment now.